Hello, and welcome back. I'm John, your host, and this is the Native English Flow community, the place where you improve your English step by step. If you want to understand English better, speak more confidently, and enjoy learning, you are in the right place. Today, we have something special. Instead of focusing on just one topic, we will talk about different interesting ideas. We will cover topics like why education matters, how to stay motivated when learning English, the importance of daily habits, and much more. So get comfortable and enjoy this episode of the English Pod community. Let's get started. Education is so important because it helps us learn new things and open up more opportunities in life. Whether you're learning English, studying math, or exploring history, education helps us understand the world better. It gives us the tools to solve problems and make good decisions. Without education, we might miss out on chances to improve ourselves and reach our goals. Now, let's think about how education can change your life. Imagine you're learning a new language like English. Every time you learn a new word or phrase, you are building your ability to communicate with others. This can open up opportunities for travel, work, or even meeting new friends from different parts of the world. Next, we'll look at how to stay motivated when learning English or any other subject. Sometimes, it can feel difficult to keep going, especially if you don't see progress right away. But remember, every small step you take is important. One great way to stay motivated is to set small realistic goals. For example, you can aim to learn 5 new words a day. When you reach your goal, take a moment to celebrate. Also, it's important to enjoy the process. Learning should be fun, so try to find things that interest you. If you love movies, watch them in English. If you enjoy reading, pick up a book or article in English. This way learning doesn't feel like a chore. It becomes something you look forward to. And speaking of staying motivated, let's talk about the importance of daily habits. A good daily habit can make a big difference in your learning journey. For example, you could make a habit of listening to English podcasts like this one every morning, or you could try to speak English with a friend for 10 minutes a day. The key is consistency. Even if you practice for just a little bit each day, over time, you will see big improvements. Now let's talk about something that affects all of us at some point, the power of positive thinking. This is something we don't always think about, but it can have a huge impact on how we approach learning and life in general. Have you ever noticed how when you think positively, things just seem to go better? It's not magic, but the way we think can influence our actions. For example, let's say you're learning English. Instead of thinking, "I'll never be able to speak well," try to think, "I am improving every day, and with practice, I'll get better." The more you encourage yourself with positive thoughts, the more likely you are to keep going even when it feels challenging. Positive thinking doesn't mean ignoring problems, but it helps you stay focused on solutions. So the next time you feel frustrated with your English, try reminding yourself of how far you've come. Maybe you've learned 100 new words or had a conversation with someone in English. These small victories matter. Now let's move on to something a little different, the importance of staying curious. Curiosity is like fuel for learning. It keeps us interested and helps us explore new things. If you're learning English, staying curious about the world around you will help you keep improving. When you are curious, you ask questions, explore new ideas, and look for ways to challenge yourself. This is so important for personal growth. For instance, let's say you're curious about a certain topic like travel. You can learn new English words by reading travel blogs, watching videos about travel, or even planning a dream vacation. The more curious you are, the more you'll learn without even realizing it. And that's the beauty of it. Learning becomes fun and exciting when you are curious. Another key point I want to talk about is the value of mistakes. Mistakes are something we all make, but they're not something to be afraid of. In fact, mistakes are a big part of learning. When you make a mistake, whether in English or anything else, it's actually a sign that you are trying and learning. Think about it, every time you make a mistake, you are one step closer to improvement. For example, if you make a mistake in English while speaking, don't be discouraged. Instead, think that was a great opportunity to learn. It's important to remember that everyone makes mistakes, even native speakers. So embrace your mistakes and see them as part of the learning journey. Let's also talk about how important it is to take breaks. When we're working hard to learn something new like English, it can sometimes feel overwhelming. That's why it's essential to take regular breaks to refresh your mind. Studies show that our brains work better when we take breaks between learning sessions. Imagine you're studying English for 30 minutes straight. After that, take a 5 to 10 minute break. You can do something relaxing, like stretching, walking, or even listening to music. This gives your brain a chance to rest and process everything you've learned. When you come back to your studies, you'll feel more focused and ready to continue learning. Also, remember that small steps lead to big results. Sometimes, we can feel like we're not making progress fast enough. But in reality, every little bit of practice adds up over time. If you practice English every day for 10 minutes in a month, you'll have practiced for over 5 hours. That's a lot of learning, so don't worry about how much you can do in one sitting. Just focus on making small, consistent efforts. Another thing to keep in mind is the importance of setting realistic goals. Setting goals helps you stay on track and gives you something to aim for, but it's important that the goals you set are achievable. For example, if your goal is to learn 100 new words in a week, that might be too much. But if you aim to learn 10 words a day, that's much more reasonable. When you achieve your goals, you feel a sense of accomplishment and that motivates you to keep going. Don't forget to celebrate your wins no matter how small they seem. Every time you learn a new word, have a conversation in English, or even watch a movie in English without subtitles, take a moment to be proud of yourself. Let's talk a bit about finding your learning style. Everyone learns differently, and that's perfectly okay. Some people learn best by reading, others by listening, and some by speaking. It's important to figure out what works best for you. For example, if you're a visual learner, you might enjoy watching English videos or reading articles in English. If you're an auditory learner, listening to English podcasts like this one might help you the most. If you like to speak and interact, then try having conversations with friends or language partners. Find what excites you and use it to your advantage. As we continue, let's talk about how to make learning English a daily habit. It's not about studying for hours every day. It's about making English a part of your daily routine. Even if you only practice for 10-15 minutes each day, it adds up. You can practice listening to an English song, reading a few pages of an English book, or learning a few new words every day. Creating a routine helps you stay consistent, and over time, English will feel more natural. You might even start thinking in English without realizing it. It's all about finding ways to make learning enjoyable and consistent. Now, let's think about how to stay positive when you feel stuck. We all face moments where we feel like we're not making progress. Maybe you've been studying English for a while and you're not seeing the results you want. That's completely normal. But remember, learning is a journey, not a race. When you feel stuck, it's okay to take a step back and relax. Sometimes, taking a break or doing something fun in English, like watching a favorite movie or reading a fun article, can help get you back on track. Remember, progress is not always linear. You might not see results immediately, but every bit of practice is making a difference. Keep going and be patient with yourself. These are just a few ideas on how to keep learning English fun and effective. Stay curious, stay positive, and always keep practicing. Learning a new language like English takes time, but with each day, you're getting closer to your goal. One important topic we often overlook is the power of routines and habits. Routines play a huge role in making learning easier and more effective. Think about it. When we wake up every morning and brush our teeth, we don't have to think about it. It's a habit, something that we do automatically. The same can be true for learning English or any other language. If you build a small daily habit, you will slowly start to notice that learning English becomes less of a task and more of something natural. For example, let's say every day you spend just 10 minutes reviewing vocabulary or listening to an English podcast. At first, 10 minutes might not feel like much, but after a month, that's 300 minutes, 5 hours of practice. That's quite a lot. Think about routines that can help you practice English naturally. Maybe you start your morning by reading an English news article or watching a short video in English. Or perhaps before going to bed, you can listen to an English audiobook or review flashcards of new words you've learned. These small moments can add up to big progress. It's important to find ways to enjoy these moments too. The more you enjoy what you're doing, the easier it will be to make it a habit. Another interesting topic is how to handle distractions while learning. We all get distracted from time to time, whether it's our phones, social media, or simply the noise around us. Distractions can make it hard to focus, but the good news is there are ways to reduce them and stay on track. First, try to create a quiet space for learning. Find a place where you can focus away from distractions. If you're studying English, this could be a calm corner of your room or even a quiet cafe. Turn off notifications on your phone or put it in another room so you're not tempted to check it every few minutes. If you're studying online, consider using apps or browser extensions that block distracting websites during your study time. If you find that your mind keeps wandering, take a short break every 20-30 minutes. This gives your brain time to relax so you don't feel mentally tired. During your break, you could stretch, take a walk, or even grab a snack. This can help you feel refreshed and ready to focus again. Another big part of learning a language is understanding different cultures. Language and culture are deeply connected. So when you learn a language, you're also learning about the people who speak it. Understanding English-speaking cultures can give you valuable context for the language you're learning. For instance, the way people in different countries use English can vary. In the US, people might use slang words and casual phrases more often than in the UK, where people might speak more formally. These differences are important to know, especially when you want to connect with native speakers. Learning about culture also helps with understanding idioms, expressions, and humor in English. For example, in the US, you might hear someone say, "It's raining cats and dogs," which means it's raining heavily. This phrase may be confusing if you're not familiar with the culture. But by learning about English-speaking countries and their cultures, you'll be able to understand these expressions better and use them correctly. Now, let's talk about something that can really help with motivation: finding a learning partner or community. Learning with others can be very helpful because it makes the experience more enjoyable and less isolating. Whether you find a friend to practice with, join an online language group, or attend a language exchange event, being part of a learning community can keep you motivated. For example, you could find a study buddy to practice English every week. You can take turns asking each other questions, giving feedback, and sharing tips for improving. It can also help if you share your progress with others. When you have people to celebrate your achievements with, no matter how small, it makes learning feel more rewarding. Another great idea is to join language learning groups on social media. Many platforms have groups where you can ask questions, share your experiences, and find people to practice with. Being part of a group like this can give you the support you need to keep going, especially on days when you feel like giving up. Another topic I want to touch on is the importance of being patient with yourself. Learning English, like any new skill, takes time. Sometimes it's easy to get frustrated when you don't see results immediately, but it's important to remember that progress is slow but steady. Think about it this way. If you were learning to play an instrument, you wouldn't expect to be perfect right away. You would practice every day, and over time, you would get better. The same goes for learning English. When you're learning a language, there will be days when you feel like you're not making progress. You might forget words you've learned or feel like you're not speaking as fluently as you want, but don't worry. These moments are a normal part of the process. The key is to be kind to yourself. Don't compare yourself to others or expect perfection. Just focus on making small improvements every day, and you'll see results over time. Another key part of learning is reflecting on your progress. It's easy to forget how far you've come, especially when you're focused on learning new things. But taking time to reflect on your achievements can be really motivating. For example, look back at where you started. A few months ago, maybe you could only say a few words in English. But now, you can have a simple conversation, understand movies, or read English articles. These are all signs of progress. Take a moment to celebrate these milestones no matter how small. You could keep a journal of your language learning journey and write down your goals and progress. This will help you see how much you've improved and remind you of how capable you are. Let's also talk about the benefits of being adaptable. In language learning, you might face challenges that require you to change your approach. For example, if you find that a method isn't working for you, don't be afraid to try something new. If you struggle with listening skills, maybe you can try watching movies with subtitles or listening to podcasts on topics that interest you. If speaking feels difficult, try finding language exchange partners or joining a speaking group. Being flexible and willing to try different methods will help you continue making progress. It's also helpful to stay organized when learning English. Organizing your learning materials, whether they're flashcards, vocabulary lists, or study notes, can help you stay on track. You can keep track of what you've learned and what you need to review. You might even create a study plan that breaks down your goals into smaller, more manageable tasks. This way you won't feel overwhelmed, and you'll know exactly what to focus on each day. Finally, let's discuss something that's often overlooked: the importance of rest and relaxation. Learning a new language takes a lot of energy, both mentally and physically. That's why it's crucial to rest and give your brain time to recover. Overworking yourself can lead to burnout, which can make learning feel exhausting instead of enjoyable. Make sure to get enough sleep, eat well, and take breaks when you need them. Engage in activities that help you relax, like reading, walking, or practicing yoga. When you feel rested, you'll have more energy and focus to continue learning. Let's start by diving into the importance of setting goals. One of the best ways to stay motivated while learning English is to set clear and achievable goals. It can be easy to get lost or feel like you're not making any progress if you don't know what you're working toward. But when you set goals, you have a clear vision of what you want to achieve, and it helps keep you on track. Start by setting small, short-term goals. For example, you might want to learn 10 new words each week, or you might decide to practice speaking for 15 minutes every day. These small goals are much easier to manage, and when you accomplish them, you feel a sense of achievement. Then as you reach those smaller goals, you can set bigger ones, like reading an entire book in English or having a 30-minute conversation with a native speaker. This process keeps you focused, motivated, and aware of your progress. Alongside goal setting, tracking your progress is another key factor that helps you stay encouraged. It's important to recognize and celebrate the improvements you make. This could be as simple as looking back at your old notes or reviewing your earlier recordings to hear how much your English has improved. You can keep a learning journal where you write down what you learned each day, what challenges you faced, and how you overcame them. Tracking your progress helps remind you that every little step counts and that you are moving forward even on days when you might not feel like it. Now, let's move on to how practicing with real-world materials can improve your language skills. Sometimes, it's easy to get caught up in textbooks and language lessons, but to truly improve, you need to engage with English as it's used in everyday life. This means reading things like newspapers, blogs, and online articles in English, or watching TV shows, movies, and YouTube videos in English. These materials are full of real expressions, slang, and cultural references that you won't always find in a textbook. It helps you learn the language as it's really spoken and gives you a deeper understanding of how native speakers use the language. For example, if you watch a TV show like Friends, you'll hear natural conversations between characters. Pay attention to how they joke with each other, express emotions, and use casual phrases. These are things that might not be taught in an English class, but they're crucial for sounding more natural when you speak. In addition to this, listening to music in English is a fun and engaging way to practice. The rhythm and flow of songs can help you understand pronunciation, intonation, and new vocabulary. Even if you don't catch all the words right away, listening to the same song multiple times can help you remember words and phrases. Songs also help you get used to different accents and styles of speech, which is important because English is spoken in many different ways around the world. Another thing that can really help you is engaging with language exchange partners. Language exchange is where you find someone who wants to learn your native language. And in exchange, they help you practice English. This is a great way to practice speaking in a relaxed environment. You can do this through apps, websites, or even in-person meetups. In language exchanges, You get the chance to speak with real people, often from different parts of the world. It's not just about practicing vocabulary or grammar, but also about learning how to have real conversations. If you're shy about speaking English, this is a great way to start because you can take turns speaking in each other's languages, and you can help each other out. It's also a great way to make new friends and learn about different cultures. Let's talk about dealing with mistakes. As we learn, we are going to make mistakes. That's just part of the process. In fact, mistakes are a really important part of learning. They show that you're trying and that you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. It's completely normal to feel embarrassed when you make a mistake, especially when speaking a new language, but the key is to not be afraid of them. When you make a mistake, it's a learning opportunity. You can ask someone for help or correct yourself. The more mistakes you make and learn from, the better you'll get. In fact, native speakers make mistakes all the time too. They might mix up words, mispronounce something, or use a sentence incorrectly. So don't worry about being perfect. The more you practice and make mistakes, the faster you'll improve. Another important aspect of learning English is using the language in real situations. When you learn a language in a classroom setting or through apps, it's easy to forget that you need to use it in daily life. So try to practice in everyday situations. For example, if you're at a store, try speaking to the cashier in English. If you're at a cafe, try ordering your coffee in English. The more you use English in real-life situations, the more confident you will feel. And the best part is that you won't feel like you're learning. It will just become part of your normal routine. As you get used to speaking English in these daily situations, you'll gain more fluency and find it easier to express yourself. Now let's explore something related to your mindset, the importance of staying positive and focused. Learning a language can be a long journey, and sometimes it might feel like you're not making progress. But don't let negative thoughts stop you. Instead, focus on the small wins and remind yourself of all the things you've already learned. Every day that you practice is a day closer to fluency. Even if it doesn't feel like it, your brain is making connections and strengthening your language skills. When you hit a tough moment, instead of feeling discouraged, think of it as a challenge that you will overcome. Celebrate the small victories, like understanding a new word or successfully having a conversation in English. These moments add up and will help you stay motivated. Another important thing to remember is taking care of your mental health while learning. Learning a new language can sometimes be stressful, especially when you feel like you're not progressing fast enough. To manage this stress, try to practice mindfulness or take deep breaths when you're feeling overwhelmed. Exercise is another great way to relieve stress and help you stay focused. Even a short walk or some light stretching can refresh your mind and give you more energy to study. It's also important to relax and take breaks. When you push yourself too hard, you might feel burned out. Giving yourself time to rest is just as important as studying. Along with all of this, don't forget the value of celebrating milestones. We often focus on the big goal, becoming fluent in English, but we don't always celebrate the small steps along the way. Celebrating little wins can keep you motivated and make the process more fun. For example, you could treat yourself after completing a challenging lesson or after finishing a book in English. These celebrations help you enjoy the journey, not just the destination. Finally, let's talk about learning from others. Watching how other people learn can inspire you and give you new strategies to try. You might learn from teachers, fellow students, or even successful language learners on YouTube. Seeing someone who has reached fluency or who has learned in an interesting way can motivate you to keep going. You might pick up a new tip or a method that helps you learn more effectively. Remember, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to learning, so be open to trying new things. Let's continue with our journey of language learning and personal growth. There are so many wonderful aspects to explore, and every step we take in learning can make us feel more confident and connected with the world around us. So let's dive into the power of reading in English. Reading is one of the most important skills to develop when learning a language because it exposes you to new vocabulary, sentence structures, and cultural references. When you read, you're not only absorbing new words, but you're also learning how sentences are formed, how ideas flow, and how people in English-speaking countries communicate. A good way to start is by choosing books, articles, or even comics that interest you. If you're passionate about something, whether it's cooking, sports, or technology, find reading materials that focus on those topics. This way, you'll not only learn English, but also learn about subjects that excite you. The key is to start small and gradually challenge yourself. You might start with children's books, then move on to simple novels or online articles, and eventually work your way up to more complex materials like newspapers or academic texts. It's important to challenge yourself, but not overwhelm yourself. The goal is to learn while still enjoying the process. Reading also helps you develop your writing skills. The more you read, the more you get a sense of how to use grammar correctly, how to choose the right words, and how to express ideas clearly. If you're someone who struggles with writing, try to imitate the writing style you like. For example, if you enjoy reading blogs or online articles, pay attention to how they are structured, how the introduction hooks you, how the body develops the idea, and how the conclusion wraps everything up neatly. You can use this knowledge when you're writing your own sentences or paragraphs. Writing daily is another way to keep your English sharp. It doesn't have to be long or complex. You can start by writing a short journal entry in English each day, describing what you did or how you felt. This helps you practice vocabulary and grammar while reflecting on your day. Over time, you'll notice that your ability to express your thoughts in English becomes more natural. Plus, writing every day keeps the language fresh in your mind and helps you build confidence when speaking. Now, let's talk about improving pronunciation. For many learners, pronunciation can be a tricky part of language learning. Even if you know lots of vocabulary and grammar, it's hard to communicate if your pronunciation is unclear. Fortunately, there are simple techniques to help improve your pronunciation. One of the best ways to start is by listening to how native speakers pronounce words. This can be done by watching movies, TV shows, or listening to podcasts. When you hear a word, repeat it out loud and try to copy the sound as closely as possible. Pay attention to the stress and rhythm of the words as well, because in English, the stress on certain syllables can change the meaning of the word. For example, in the word record, the noun is stressed on the first syllable, re chord, while the verb is stressed on the second syllable, record. Another effective tool for improving pronunciation is shadowing. Shadowing is a technique where you repeat what a speaker says in real time. You can choose a video or audio recording of a native English speaker, and as they speak, try to mimic the exact way they say the words. It's like being a shadow of the speaker. This exercise helps with not just pronunciation, but also with listening comprehension and fluency. The more you practice shadowing, the easier it will be to speak naturally and fluidly. As we continue, let's focus on the importance of grammar in speaking and writing. For beginners, it's easy to get intimidated by grammar rules, but don't worry. It's not about memorizing every rule. Instead, focus on understanding the basic sentence structures first. English sentences typically follow a subject plus verb plus object structure. For example, I subject eat verb breakfast object. By practicing simple sentences and expanding from there, you can gradually get a feel for how English sentences are built. You don't have to be perfect at grammar right away. The key is to use grammar rules as a guide to help you express your ideas clearly and correctly. Once you feel comfortable with basic grammar, you can move on to more advanced topics like conditionals, tenses, and complex sentences. It's helpful to learn grammar in context, meaning you should learn it through examples and real-life situations. For instance, rather than just memorizing the past tense form of verbs, try writing a short story about something that happened to you. This helps you practice grammar naturally while keeping it relevant to your life. Now, let's talk about building vocabulary. One of the biggest challenges when learning a new language is remembering and using new words. Vocabulary doesn't just appear in your head overnight. It's something you build over time through consistent exposure and practice. A good method for learning vocabulary is to group words into categories. For example, you might have a category for food, e.g. apple, banana, bread, another for transportation, bus, train, bicycle, and another for emotions, happy, sad, excited. By categorizing words, you make it easier to remember them because your brain can connect words that are related to each other. Another technique is using flashcards. You can make your own flashcards or use apps like Anki, which allow you to review words regularly. The more you review, the more likely you are to remember them in the long term. Also, don't just memorize words in isolation. Try using them in sentences and conversations. This helps you not only remember the word, but also understand how to use it properly. Now, let's discuss improving listening skills. Listening is a crucial part of language learning because it helps you understand how words are pronounced and how sentences flow. It's also an essential skill when communicating with others. To improve your listening, it's a good idea to listen to a variety of materials. You might start with slower speech, like listening to podcasts designed for English learners. As you get more comfortable, you can gradually increase the difficulty by listening to native-level content, such as movies, TV shows, and news broadcasts. One great way to practice listening is to listen and repeat. Find a short clip of a conversation or dialogue and listen to it carefully. After you've listened, try to repeat what you heard as accurately as possible. This helps you with both listening comprehension and speaking. Over time, you'll get better at understanding different accents and speeds of speech. Another effective method is to watch with subtitles. This is a helpful way to connect what you hear with what you see. Once you become more comfortable, you can try watching without subtitles to challenge yourself. Learning to speak confidently is another key area for language learners. A lot of people feel nervous when speaking in a second language, but confidence comes with practice. The more you practice speaking, the more confident you'll become. One way to build confidence is to practice speaking in front of a mirror or record yourself speaking. This helps you listen to yourself and identify areas where you can improve. It's also a good idea to practice with friends or language partners who are patient and supportive. If you're feeling nervous about speaking with strangers or in public, remember that everyone makes mistakes when learning a new language. It's totally okay. People will appreciate your efforts to speak their language, and they will often help you if you make a mistake. The key is not to be afraid of speaking, even if you're unsure of the words. The more you speak, the better you'll get and the more comfortable you will feel. Lastly, let's talk about finding your learning style. Everyone learns differently, and it's important to discover what works best for you. Some people are visual learners and benefit from seeing words and images. Others might learn better through listening or hands-on practice. Some learners prefer structure and routines, while others thrive in a more flexible, creative environment. To figure out your learning style, try different methods, like listening to podcasts, watching videos, reading books, and engaging in conversations, and see which one feels the most natural and effective for you. It's okay if it takes time to figure it out. The most important thing is to keep experimenting and be open to new strategies that help you improve. The more you understand how you learn, the more efficient and enjoyable your language learning journey will be. All right. Let's continue exploring new ways to make learning English easier and more fun. It's great that you're diving into different aspects of language learning. Whether you're a beginner or at an intermediate level, there are always fresh and exciting ways to improve your skills and boost your confidence. So let's talk about the importance of practice in language learning and why it's essential to keep practicing regularly even when it feels challenging. The truth is, learning a new language is like building a house. You start with a strong foundation, and then you gradually add new layers until you have something beautiful. Consistency is key. It's not about practicing for hours every day. Even small sessions of practice add up over time. You can practice in short bursts as little as 10-15 minutes a day and still make significant progress. It's not about the quantity of time you spend, but the quality of your practice. One of the biggest hurdles many language learners face is maintaining motivation. It can be tough when progress feels slow or when you feel like you're not improving as quickly as you'd like. But here's the thing. Language learning is a long-term process, and the more consistent you are, the more natural it becomes. Remember that even the smallest steps count. Every new word you learn, every sentence you practice, and every conversation you have is an accomplishment. You might not notice the progress every day, but trust me, over time, you'll look back and see how much you've grown. A great way to stay motivated is by setting small, achievable goals. For example, You might decide to learn 10 new words every week or listen to an English podcast for 15 minutes each day. These goals don't need to be huge. They should be realistic and attainable. When you meet your goals, celebrate your progress. This positive reinforcement will keep you excited to continue learning. Also, don't forget to track your progress. This could be as simple as keeping a journal of the new words or phrases you've learned or recording yourself speaking and comparing it to earlier recordings. Tracking your progress helps you see how far you've come, which is a huge motivator to keep going. It also allows you to notice areas where you may need more practice, like pronunciation or grammar, and adjust your learning strategy accordingly. Now, let's talk about learning through immersion. One of the most effective ways to learn a language is by surrounding yourself with it. Immersion means placing yourself in environments where you're constantly exposed to the language, so you start thinking and reacting in English. You don't have to live in an English-speaking country to do this. You can create your own immersive experience at home. For instance, you can watch TV shows, movies, or YouTube videos in English. Choose shows that are either at your level or just slightly above it so you can challenge yourself without feeling overwhelmed. If you don't understand a word or phrase, try to guess the meaning from context or look it up later. This kind of exposure helps you get used to the natural flow of English, including idiomatic expressions, slang, and informal language that you might not learn from textbooks. In addition to watching videos and listening to podcasts, try reading books or articles in English. Start with easy material, like children's books or short stories, and gradually move on to more complex texts. You can also follow social media accounts that post in English, read blogs, or check out news websites. The more you expose yourself to the language, the more natural it will feel, and the easier it will be to understand what people are saying in real conversations. Another great form of immersion is speaking practice. Practice doesn't always have to be formal. Just try to use English in everyday situations. For example, when you're at the store, try to read product labels in English or even say the name of the item out loud. If you're cooking, look up recipes in English and follow the instructions. The more you practice in everyday situations, the more confident you'll become in using English in real life. Next, let's talk about the role of mistakes in learning English. Mistakes are a natural part of language learning, and they can be incredibly valuable. It's easy to feel discouraged when you make a mistake, especially if you're speaking or writing in front of others. But here's the thing. Mistakes are proof that you're trying. Every time you make a mistake, you learn something new. Even native speakers make mistakes when they speak, so don't worry if things don't always come out perfectly. The important thing is to learn from those mistakes, correct them, and keep moving forward. In fact, the more mistakes you make, the faster you'll learn. Mistakes allow you to identify gaps in your knowledge and help you remember important lessons. For example, you might realize that you've been using the wrong verb tense, or perhaps you're not using the correct word for a particular situation. Once you recognize the mistake, it's easier to fix it, and the next time you'll be more likely to use the correct form. Let's take the example of speaking. You might be nervous about making a mistake while speaking with others, but remember, native speakers won't judge you for it. Most people are understanding and appreciate the effort you're making to communicate in their language. And remember, the more you practice speaking, the fewer mistakes you'll make over time. Another tip to overcome the fear of mistakes is recording yourself. It might feel a little awkward at first, but recording yourself speaking or reading in English can give you a chance to hear your pronunciation and sentence structure. You'll likely notice areas where you can improve, and over time, your speech will become more natural. Plus, recording yourself allows you to hear your progress. You might notice that you sound more fluent and confident after a few weeks of practice. Let's shift gears and talk about language exchange. One of the best ways to practice speaking is by connecting with other English learners or native speakers through language exchange platforms. These are platforms where you can find people who are learning your native language and who want to practice English. You can chat via text or voice calls, and both of you will help each other practice speaking. Language exchanges are a fantastic way to improve speaking skills because they give you real-life practice in a low-pressure setting. If you're not ready to do a full conversation exchange yet, that's okay. You can start by just having brief chats or practicing specific phrases. Over time, You'll become more comfortable speaking in English, and it will start to feel like second nature. Plus, speaking with people from different parts of the world will expose you to various accents, which is great for improving your listening skills. 2. One more fun way to learn is through interactive games and apps. There are many apps available that can help you improve your vocabulary, pronunciation, grammar, and speaking skills in an interactive way. Some apps let you practice pronunciation by mimicking words and sentences, while others challenge you with vocabulary quizzes. Using these apps regularly can make learning feel like less of a chore and more like a game, which can keep you motivated and engaged. For example, apps like Duolingo, Memrise, and Babbel offer interactive lessons that you can do at your own pace. Some of these apps even use gamification techniques, like earning points or completing levels, which make learning more fun and rewarding. You can set daily goals and track your progress. And before you know it, you'll see your skills improving steadily. Lastly, let's talk about the importance of a supportive learning environment. Surrounding yourself with people who encourage your language learning journey can make all the difference. Whether it's a teacher, a study buddy, or a group of language learners, having support will help you stay motivated, especially when things get tough. You can join online forums, Facebook groups, or even local language meetups where you can interact with others who share your goal of learning English. Finding a community of learners allows you to share tips, resources, and encouragement, and you might even find some friends along the way who are learning the same language. It's always nice to have someone to practice with, especially when you feel stuck or frustrated.